Hello everyone, welcome back to Reload Revelation. I'm your host Ryan Souls, in the show where we break down some gear, talk about the news and two-way movements, and overall have a good time. You may notice something looks a little bit different. Surprise! This is gonna be the new look. I think it looks nice, but I do have to say thank you all for supporting me in this endeavor. And let's get into this adventure together, why don't we? Now, for the first story that I got for you today, over the weekend, HB 137 has been taking the world by storm, and especially in New Mexico, because that's where they put it into the House committee. Now, what is HB 137? HB 137 is the House bill that will ban all semi-automatic gas-operated weapon systems. Now, for those who may not know what those are, that's pretty much everything besides bolt action, pump action, anything that's gas-operated, they want to ban. It's just one of those ridiculous things that they'll try and sneak in, put a little fat on this bill, and they're using just absolute tragedies to push it. The ban on high-capacity magazines. Anything over 10 rounds is considered high capacity. Why? Because they're really, really stupid. They also want to permanently fix them in a weapon. So, if that means you have a detachable magazine, guess what? You're a felon. If you have over 10 rounds in your magazine, guess what? You're a felon. That's what they want to do. It's absolutely ludicrous to think that anything else would be unconstitutional in their eyes. They want to limit your round capacity. They want to limit your ability to operate your weapon correctly. And with this bill, nothing has really come out of this bill yet. They just sent it in on Friday. I'm coming to here on Monday. However, we are keeping it close eye on it to see whether or not it really does something. When it comes to this House bill, is it going to pass? Chances are probably not. The Supreme Court right now has been pretty good about these things. However, we don't want to give them an absolute inch to maybe even think that there's a possibility that you could ban all gas-operated weapon systems. That includes handguns, rifles, some shotguns, and everything. They want to ban everything. Now, here's the thing. If you are in Santa Fe, New Mexico, they have a rally on February 3rd, 2024 at 10 a.m. if you are able to carry a legal firearm on Saturday, February 3rd, 2024, the Second Amendment Day Rally, hosted by the New Mexico Shooting Sports Association. If you want more info, go to nmssa.org. Now, as people are trying to help out with their Second Amendment rights, there's one person in particular that kind of altogether broke the law, and yet nothing is going on. So in the state of New York, one of the highest advocates for gun control state, blue New York, a journalist that is anti-conservative admitted on January 19th that she possesses a firearm illegally with ammunition illegally. Yeah, I'm sure she doesn't have 10 rounds in her magazines. E. Jean Carroll just testified to owning an illegal firearm and ammunition in New York State. Lying to the government about whether or not you have a firearm. Now, it doesn't say in the article what that firearm was. Probably a high point, because this lady seems like she's got high point vibes to her. I'm kidding, but she did break the law. Now, that includes up to a $5,000 fine and up to 4 years in prison. This is a felony, a Class E felony. Now, granted, this is the first time that anyone lied about owning a firearm, right? Well, at least she didn't dump it into a dumpster next to a school. It looks like that just because she is anti-traditional freedoms, she can do whatever she wants. Because she lined up with the right political affiliation. Now, there's no stopping her. Now, oh, the world is yours. Oh, you lied about this? That would cause anyone else to go into jail? without a doubt. Like, they would expedite that case. Oh no, but you're fine. You're fine. You were protecting yourself with all this violence. We got representative from Washington, Pramila, that quoted on Twitter saying, "We're 21 days into 2024 and we've already experienced 13 mass shootings. This is a crisis and we must act boldly now to save lives. That starts with an assault weapons ban." It said nothing about the thousands of illegal aliens migrating across that southern border every single day. No, she's worried about this. And this is where it really grinds my gears, is that they're taking national tragedies, and they are tragedies, don't get me wrong, and they're pushing their own agenda. That is just absolutely horrifying. Not to mention, that's communist tactics. There is nothing that people hate more than taking a tragedy, especially if you were involved in said tragedy. If that was one of your kids that got injured or died, you would be appalled. So why is it that it seems like that these Democrats that are trying to take away our right to self-preservation need to kind of be reined in a little bit? Like, hey, whoa, whoa. And it's every election year too. Mind you, this is a pattern. History repeats itself day in and day out. They tried to do this again with the assault weapons ban in the 90s. That passed. It got repealed. And now they're trying to pass it again with no changes. No changes. Now, granted, this is my opinion right here. Mine. Every gun law is an infringement. If you're a law-abiding citizen, you should get whatever you want without the need of filing tax forms, without the need of the government getting their little cutout. On the other hand, we have an op-ed piece that claims that concealed carry weapon holders, you know, people that have the permit to conceal carry, don't commit as many crimes as people that illegally carry. Weird. It's almost like we told you so. This person that wrote this article claims that it is not true due to no background checks in other states. They're saying that because not all states have background checks, that the data is skewed. When they say there's no background checks, that's not very true. All states have a federal background check if you go buy your weapon from a licensed FFL, a federal firearms license dealer. So that's any of your retail stores. I'm talking about Bass Pro, Cabela's, you name it. Anyone that sells firearms that is not a private seller, you have to go through a background check. That's the law. What they're talking about here is that for private sales of firearms, they want mandatory background checks. Okay, I don't know about you. I've done a couple private sales in my own life. I trusted the person that was selling me the weapon. He obviously trusted me because there was no need. A private sale is a private sale. When you take the private out of the sale, now you're infringing on my rights. I consented to having a background check when I went to that store because that's the law. Makes sense. But why should you know what I really have? Because if I got it legally, shouldn't be any big deal. That's the thing. That's where they're getting to on this, is that they are stymied at the fact that how can concealed carry people have just this such great respect for the law that they're not going to break it every time they have a private sale. It's because we like owning what we own. That's the end all be all. That's not anything. It has nothing to do with not thinking that it's infringement, but we still like to own what we own because when it does come to a tyrannical government, we need to have the right to protect ourselves in the future. That's how it works. And apparently this person has never heard of, the website, which this website is called heyjack.com. And it's a website that shows real-time crime statistics for gun violence, using their words there, in just the city of Chicago alone. Now, Chicago is one of the highest rated cities for violence with firearms. Yes, but they do have a lot of great stats. Not a word on that. However, they want to come to people like me that own a couple firearms. But it's true. It's just one of those things where they don't care about the real issue. They just want to take away your rights again. And speaking of which, let's get into the breakdown today. Beretta 96FS handgun. Now, tying into from the first segment, this would be banned. Even though it doesn't look like a big, scary, black rifle, this would get banned. Now, before we break it down, let me show you. This magazine is empty. And what's really cool is that I can actually lock back that slide and show you that there is nothing in there. Nothing in that barrel. Little pinky check. And we are good to go. So this is chambered in 40 Smith & Wesson, which is... It's not a most popular round. However, I was able to buy ammo during COVID. Just remember that. It's not always about the efficiency of the round. It's just the fact that I could get it. The capacity is about 10 rounds plus one. Again, it would be banned. It's got a nice spring-loaded magazine. It's detachable. Again, banned. Now, some of the cool features on this is obviously it's got a locking slide, which some people like that, some people don't. The slide release is a little bit bigger on this. I can grab it with my thumb. Basically, you hit that lever, right? Pushes that slide forward. Now, your safety is very cool. It's an ambidextrous safety. When you flip it up, you see a little red dot. Red means dead. And what's even better is that, let's say you're ready to go, it's on fire, your hammer's back. If you pull the safety, it also has a decocker, which basically rotates that fire pin in there, rocks that hammer back. So now, when you're on fire, you're ready to fire. When you start pressing, it is now in double action. When the hammer is back, that's single action. When the hammer is forward and you're on fire, now it's double action. You hit that big wall. Everything is pretty much stock on this, to my knowledge, when I purchased it. However, this weapon turns out pretty famous. You remember Lethal Weapon? Well, guess what? This was Mel Gibson's handgun for that series of movies. Resident Evil, again, although chambered in 9, it still is very much the same. To break it down, it's obvious. It's one of the easiest ones I have. You hit that little lever, the slide comes out. There's your lower. Again, just like any rifle, this is what the feds want. This is what gets registered. We flip it over. Now your slide has your buffer and recoil spring. Take that out. I just keep them in 2 pieces because it's a little bit easier for me. Now with the Beretta 96FS, it has a barrel and that little feed ramp. So you just, nice little 4-inch barrel. And there's your slide. And that's it. To put it all back together, you obviously put your barrel back in, reverse the process, take your spring. You want your spring end, okay? Your spring end to go in first. That way your buffer rests on that little metal piece. What I do is when I click the slide back onto the track, take my little lever that's all the way down like this, push it up. So when I seat it back in, it snaps it back into place. We just check to make sure it's all good. Back in the military, they would actually clip this to their pants because apparently some people had a problem with dropping their weapon. So they would just put a lanyard on there, call it a day. You're all good. One of the modifications on this handgun that was kind of like a cool project is that being that it's a little bit older, it's used, is that the brass front sight was very wore down. So what I did, just took a little bit of white paint, filled in that gap, and it's just the front. So when you're matching up your front sight to your back sight, this one sticks out a lot more, which is easier for my eyes. The sights on it, well, they're present. But overall, it is a very comfortable feeling handgun. It's nice and heavy. The recoil management on it is rather intense for me, but again, I like rifles. Handguns are a different animal altogether. It is one of the easiest to operate when it comes to shooting it for me. Again, I like the ambidextrous safety on it, where I can easily manipulate it with just one finger or thumb. Serrated edges. The serration on any slide like that is very cool because it just grips it a little bit easier. Now, some people like front serration, some people like back. When it comes to the style of this handgun, I would rather have them on the back, because if I ripped them to the front with that open barrel design, I don't even want to think about it. Pinching your thumbs, just imagine that. But the reason why they went with this open design for this barrel and slide is that it'll prevent stovepiping. I know what you're asking. What's stovepiping? Stovepiping is when the casing of the round doesn't eject properly and gets stuck. You see it a lot of times on newer handguns like the Glocks and whatnot. Mostly Glocks, just because it's a big square frame. It's not overall very efficient. Now, does it happen every single time? No, of course not. But that's the most that I've seen them on. So when it comes to this type of open frame, the round itself sits right there, and it just has a little bit more of a spot to fly out so it doesn't stovepipe. Most slides just go right to the edge of the round with the extractor, pop it out. 9 times out of 10, you'll be fine. It's just one of those features that they decided to list. So let's talk about single and double action on this handgun. Most handguns you're going to see that are magazine fed are going to be single and double action. So all that means is that when the hammer is forward like this and you're on fire, it's going to take a lot more pressure to depress that trigger to start the action. So your first shot is going to be in double action. The rest of them are in single. Why? Is because when you fire the weapon, rocks it back, casing goes out, and then it goes back like this with your hammer already down. Now you're in single. So there's a lot less take up, and there's a lot less pressure that you need to depress the trigger to fire your next round. And again, fires, and you're rocking in single action again. To get it back to double action, like I said previously, super easy. Rack that safety all the way down, your decocker goes into effect, and now when you go back on fire, now you're back on double. The reason being, it's a safety feature in and of itself. It's nothing too crazy. I like it. It makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. Now, the most comforting thing that you can do for yourself, of course, is training. Just training every single time, just not even firing, just nice manipulation of arms so that you can be comfortable no matter what you do. Because some people like to rock it with their hammer back, ready to go. Some people like to have double action, then rack it single action. That's what I like to do. It's super, super simple. If you like what you're watching so far, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell for notifications, and just give a like on this video. How do you like the new set? Give me a comment. It would help out my channel, helps out you, helps out the algorithm, all that good stuff. Now let's get into the third segment, which of course is our gear. So when it comes to gear, it's very, very simple. You know, we had the Beretta 96 FS, makes sense, but we need some place to store it when we're not using it, albeit store it on your hip. You need a holster. Are some guns easier to find holsters for? Absolutely, but this is the one that was purchased with the purchase of the handgun, and it's got a couple cool things that I like on it. It's just a Blackhawk. It's a paddle switch holster, super, super easy. to manipulate, fast draw. A lot of people you're going to see on social media they're going to have the Safariland holsters, which, don't get me wrong, love those for duty officers, love them too. For me, I'm not a police officer. I'm not military. Don't really see a point in having that. Plus, they're also really expensive. This one right here, super, super cheap. Now let's put this down right here. We'll take a look at it. So it's molded. Every holster that you're going to find that is Kydex is molded to a specific model of weapon, whether it be a Glock 19 or, in our case, the Beretta 96 FS. What's cool is that this one has a Safariland. See, I did buy something from Safariland, but it has a quick locking system on there, which all you have to do, you find the correct oriented piece, which it comes together, slide it in, and boom, now you got your holster on your hip, ready to rock. So it's kind of a combo piece, really. Nice holster with a quick detach system. That way it makes it easier for, like, you know, let's say you're done, you're packing up for the day, you just pop that off instead of popping off your whole gear belt, and you're good to go. You can just walk right out. Be very, very easy. Now, the thing is with this is that it's retrofitted. Okay, it takes a little bit of elbow grease, a little bit of creativity, but once you get it in, it's not going anywhere. It's at a nice cant forward, give a good presentation on it. And of course, it's got a opening on the bottom in case your gun has, you know, a couple of things. Now, this is not rated for a model for a flashlight. Obviously, you can see, I mean, it fits just like so. So thank you all for watching. I really appreciate you sticking around for Reload Revelation episode 3 in a brand new set. Do me a favor, if you like this video, please subscribe, give a like, hit that bell, and of course remember these 5 rules. Never point your firearm at anything you don't intend on shooting. Know what is behind your target at all times. Be aware of your surroundings. Keep your finger off the trigger until you are ready to shoot. And of course, have fun. Thank you so much for watching. I really, truly appreciate it. If you're in New Mexico, stick up for your rights. Now go catch some R&R.